We
Hi,
keep our
Sanjhbati.
video on at all times, right? You'd like us to do that?
Ma'am, actually, you can uh, switch off your video after you complete your speech, your questions. Okay, so um, good evening, everyone. My name is Sanjhbati Sengupta, and I'm a student at Rani Birla Girls College, Department of English, University of Calcutta. I welcome all of you to the TMYS Review Project Series on Working Women. TMYS Review December 2025 will explore the theme of working women in literature. We are calling for the submission of essays, poems, interviews, and short stories under the project. To know more about the submission guidelines and the project architecture, please visit www.tellmeyourstory.biz. This evening, I consider myself very privileged to be in the company of our esteemed panelists, Hema Swaminathan ma'am, Debahuti Panigrahi ma'am, who will shortly share their views and insights with us. The topic for today's discussion
Actually, I'm
is
not able to hear you people properly. So, can you just suggest how to go about it?
yes, ma'am.
Not able to hear you properly. I'm also not, accustomed to this particular background or platform. I used to communicate through Zoom or Gmeet only. I don't know how to operate this one. I was trying, but I am not able to hear your voice properly, and maybe I am also not audible.
Ma'am,
Is that
you
so?
are. I can hear you.
I am
I
audible
will
properly,
ask. Yes, ma'am. We can hear you. I will ask Dr. Hema
but your
Swaminathan
voice
ma'am.
is not coming that much. I'm. It's not audible. Yours is not audible to me. Yeah.
Okay. Okay. I will ask Dr. Hema Swaminathan ma'am and Kaustav Bakshi sir. Am I audible to you?
Yeah,
Not
Yeah,
you are audible
properly.
to me.
you're audible to
You are
me as
What to
audible
well.
to
do? Just
Okay.
suggest me some steps. Yeah,
Uh,
Ma'am,
uh,
can you please just leave and join once more?
I'll join it once more. Okay.
Yes, ma'am.
you could also type out her questions in chat, or if you have them already prepared, you could put them in chat so that she can answer them if the audio doesn't improve.
Okay. Um, let's proceed with the discussion. I'm really privileged uh, to be in the company of our esteemed panelists, Dr. Hema Swaminathan ma'am, Dr. Kaustav Bakshi sir, Dr. Debahuti Panigrahi ma'am. She's just joining, who will shortly share their views and insights with us. The topic for today's discussion is agencies of working women as depicted in popular fiction. So, before we begin, I would like to introduce our guest speakers for today. Our first speaker for the session is Dr. Hema Swaminathan ma'am. Hema Swaminathan's research focuses on a broad range of issues, including gendered inequality in income and wealth distributions, drivers of women's labor force participation, and strengthening gender statistics across domains. She was the co PI on the Gender Asset Gap Project, a unique project that pioneered individual level asset and wealth data collection and contributed to global guidelines for collecting such data. She is well published in international peer reviewed journals. She is a professor, Center for Public Policy, Indian Institute of Management, Bangalore, India. She has also worked at the International Center for Research on Women, USA. We are delighted to have you on the panel, ma'am. Thank you so much for joining us this evening. Our second speaker for the session is Dr. Kaustav Bakshi, sir. Kaustav Bakshi is a professor at the Department of English, Jadavpur University. A Charles Wallace India Trust Fellow, his doctoral thesis was on the Sri Lankan Civil War and the South Asian novel. His latest books include Cultures of Aging and Ageism in India, Routledge 2023-2024, Popular Cinema in Bengal, Stardom, Genre, Public Cultures, Routledge 2020, Queer Studies, Texts, Contexts, Praxis, Orient Black Swan 2019, and Rituparno Ghosh, Cinema, Gender and Art, Routledge 2015. Our next speaker for the session is Dr. Debahuti Panigrahi. Dr. Debahuti Panigrahi, Associate Professor of Sociology at Ruffles University, brings 12 years of experience in teaching and research. She has published 25 papers in Scopus and UGC Care journals, presented at 14 conferences, and supervised 5 PhD theses. Formerly with Lovely Professional University, she currently oversees the Shahid V. Narayan Chair at Kalinga University. She has convened key academic events, including a national webinar and committees like BOS and SRC. Her research focuses on environmental justice, gender sensitization, marginalization, virtual society, subculture, Indology, and ethnic sectarianism. Pleased to have her with us this evening. Uh, so we will now open the forum for discussion. I would now request Dr. Swaminathan ma'am to share
Uh,
her insights. Ma'am, over to you
Hi,
now.
Sanjhbati. Hi, Sanjhbati. I think Dr. Noveena Chakravorty has also joined us. Do you want to
Okay,
finish the round of introductions?
okay ma'am, sure. Yes. Okay, now we have Dr. Noveena Chakravorty among us. She is an associate professor in journalism and mass communication at Admas University, Kolkata. She has over 18 years of experience in media academics and industry. She holds degrees from BHU and a PhD in film studies from the Admas University. She completed courses at FTII Pune and Indian Film Institute, Delhi. A published researcher with works in Scopus, UGC Care, and peer-reviewed journals, she has edited 7 books. Her films have been featured in 17 plus global festivals, including the IMDb listed entries. A travel vlogger, voice artist, and anchor, she received the PRSI Communication Excellence Award 2023 for her contribution to filmmaking. We are truly excited to have you among us, ma'am, and looking forward to having an engaging and insightful session with you. Um, I would now request Dr. Swaminathan, ma'am, to share her insights. Over to you now, ma'am.
Um, Thank you so much, Sanjhbati. First of all, thank you for this invitation and on this very interesting topic. And I'm very happy to be here with the other panelists. I look forward to an evening of interesting discussion as well as expanding my own horizons on this topic from various perspectives. Just wanted to also add that I'm currently affiliated with the Asian Development Bank as their senior gender economist. Right? I think you had asked us to talk about agencies of working women. I've been sort of thinking about this last couple of days, and one of the things that and I think there are several layers in what one thinks about as working women. I want to make a couple of points, sort of unpack this concept of working women a little bit. To me, the word working woman is an anomaly because I know what you mean. You mean like someone who is formally employed in the labor market, right? But I think every woman works, right? Whether it's inside the house or whether it's in the formal labor market. So I think that's the first point I really want to put across. Because domestic labor, the unpaid care work that one does, is so totally invisibilized. I remember many years ago in my first macro class, when we were learning about GDP and SNA and non SNA, this awful, awful joke got told, which is like if a man marries his domestic staff, then the GDP of the country goes down, right? Anybody who studied Economics 101 will know this joke, mainly because that when she is a domestic staff, her labor is part of the market exchange, right? And so it gets counted into GDP. But once she becomes his wife and therefore a homemaker, she's doing exactly the same thing, but it's no longer counted, right? Uh, awful joke, but unfortunately, it's still true today, right? There are some things that get counted and some things that don't get counted. So the labor that women do inside the house is terribly important, but it's invisibilized and it's valueless in many ways. So I guess I just want to say that when we say working women, I know you mean employed in the formal market. So I myself prefer to say women who are employed in formal markets or who are employed otherwise, because I know it, and it's a mouthful. It's so much easier to say working women, not to pick on you. But it's just that the words have so much power, right? And so I find it very annoying when people say, oh, my mother never worked or my wife does not work. When women themselves say, what do you do? Is that, oh, I don't work, I just stay at home. There's just staying at home business is so not true. So that's kind of one point that I want to make. But I mean, this is and the other point that I wanted to unpack in terms of thinking about working women is, and before I sort of hit the agency part, is that thinking about employment and what gets counted as employment for a lot of women. I mean, India has, as we all know, fairly low labor force participation rates, and you constantly say, oh, what can we do about it? But a lot of work that women do, that some of our employment estimates, or that a lot of work that women do, even when it's economic activity, does not get counted or enumerated properly. And this is just sort of in the field of statistics and how things are measured, or that women do very many multiple activities, right? And so those are not sort of well recorded. To sort of go back to my previous point, I just wanted to bring out a few statistics from the TMYS survey of India, which happened in 2024. I don't know if you know what a TMYS survey is, but so let me quickly elaborate. It's one of the surveys that is conducted by our country, and it's gaining traction globally. It's a survey that records how people spend their time in the last 24 hours, right? So there's a very detailed accounting of how people spend their time, and it's gives us a sense of the time disposition of men and women and boys and girls, right? So when you look at, say, unpaid domestic services. This unpaid domestic services, I mean cooking, cleaning, maintaining the household, ironing, washing, all of that. Men who participate in such activities, and this is Indian men, this is for India, 88 minutes a day, while women do 289 minutes a day. So there's a difference of 201 minutes on average in these activities. And for care work, and care work is childcare and elderly care, women do 137 minutes a day while men do 75 minutes a day, right? So there's a difference again of 62. So for a lot of people, this is not just work, but for many working women, this is a second shift that they undertake, right? Often men come home, dinner is ready, they can relax, but women come home, they have to cook, clean, do other things, right? And then there's also what is called the cognitive labor of planning, right? Which is again invisible, not captured in surveys, but just exhausting, right? So this was sort of a couple of points that I wanted to make on the term of working women. And in terms of the agencies of working women, I think this is just such a fantastic topic, and it's so sort of relevant, it's very timely, and you see how it's depicted in sort of fiction. And there are certain aspects of agencies that I want to touch upon. And one is that when you talk about agency, it's of course tied to employment, but there are also, I think, agencies of whether to take up employment or not at all, right? I think that in itself involves a certain amount of agency. And you see some shifts of that happening. One is employment out of necessity, and then another is an employment because it contributes to a sense of self-worth. There's a sense of identity that's involved in it. You're kind of realizing yourself. So there's more than just an economic need that's tied with this agency. Then choices in the type of employment, right? Is fiction able to explore that, or is it just automatically the employment that your parents were involved in, or do you now have the agency to choose? Do you have the power to choose? Then individual or collective agency. Often we see in fiction, there's a lot about individual agency, right? The freedom to do certain things. Is it translating into collective agency, or are you able to question structural discrimination or marginalization across sort of a broad spectrum? And are you able to sort of seek justice for others in the household or reach out to vulnerable people who don't have a sense of justice? And one last point that I want to reflect upon a little is that how work or employment gets somewhat glamorized in fiction. In my own work, I see, I read a lot of, well, nonfiction as well. So there you find that the fact that employment often for a majority, not just women, but for a majority of people in our country is in the informal sector, right? There is precarity of work, it's exploitative, uh, no benefits, it's repetitive, it's boring, and it's an economic necessity. But fiction, I think, tends to glamorize employment a little more, and maybe because it's making a point. If fiction is as boring as reality, maybe nobody would pick up a book, pick it up and read it or go and watch a movie. And is also trying to make a point saying that employment is a transformation in one's life journey, right? But I think so. How employment, I think, gets depicted in fiction, and if that mirrors reality, is also something that I would be of interest. So I'll stop here. Uh, Thank you.
Thank you so much, ma'am, for putting the things so beautifully. It was really wonderful. So now we will move on to our next speaker. I would like Dr. Kaustav Bakshi, sir, to share his insights. Sir, over to you.
Thank you. I wanted to raise the point which Professor Hema Swaminathan just raised about the idea of the working woman. So I do not need to talk about that anymore. That has been taken care of. But I told you earlier in my mail that I would like to take a queer lens and try to see the title, because when I saw the title, it actually troubled me a lot. Why? Because, for instance, in queer studies, not just in queer studies, in radical feminism also, we question the term woman. So we do not say who is a woman, we say what is a woman, right? And why do we do that? Because of the emergence of non binary identities. Too many non binary identities which cannot be kind of labeled. And it is not just about trans women, right? There are many, many identities in between, and we cannot name them, and they are very wary of calling themselves women. Whether it's an FAAB person after a point in life wants to transition or wants to give up on the label of woman, or it could be an AMAB person who wants to transition and then, of course, quote unquote, become a woman. And therefore, when we talk about agency of women in um, popular fiction is quite silent about working trans women and other women who do not identify as women. I'll give you a good example. For instance, during COVID, there was a lot of analysis and hue and cry around migrant workers, if you remember. And I was quite taken aback that in none of those reports, which even when I covered by Barkhadat and so many others in various news channels, migrant worker became a term as if it did not exist earlier. But hijras, trans women, queer women as migrant workers was not documented. Right. Now, if you look at the hijra community, so hijra is a profession, right? So they live like quote unquote women, but they have three professions. And all three were stopped because of COVID. And they are certainly migrant workers. I'll give you very concrete examples as I was helping many of them at that time. So, say for instance, somebody, an AMAB person, maybe at the age of 17 or 18, that person might have left home, eloped from home, left home because it was impossible for them to stay in their within their biological family. Now, when they left, the problem uh, they forgot, many of them forgot to bring their Aadhaar card or the voter's card with them, right? And the real problem, the tangible problem they faced during COVID, that in order to get subsidized uh, ration from the government, they had to produce a particular document, either the voter's card or the Aadhaar card, but they didn't possess any of those. And then in Kolkata, there was a movement by trans women when this rule was removed, and then they were given ration. But it took some time, at least more than a month or so, when the community had to be assisted financially. Now, hijras as migrant workers is something which is not talked about. And when we talk about agency, honestly speaking, if we probe deep into the community, it's very interesting. It might appear contradictory, but it is true that prestigious hijra households have a lot of money. Now, this money comes from Badhai, this money comes from Challa, this money comes from Khajra. Khajra is sex work, Challa is begging, and Badhai is visiting auspicious occasions. But not only that, within the Hijra community, there is also a practice of land owning. And government lands are often given to Hijras, or they sort of, they occupy those lands and they can trade those lands to someone else. And while this is the inner story, you will notice that in most cases, non Hijra people are not really allowed within the Hijra household because there are several well kept secrets, and the economy that uh, we imagine, as far as the Hijra community is concerned, it's very different from what it actually is. And this is totally, totally undocumented because you can only know about it if you have a friend from that community because you do not have access. So that's why I was asking this question, that who is a working woman? So all these hijras are working AMAB persons who now identify as women, right? Now, representation, if you come to representation, I have seen good representations in Southern novels, like in Southern popular fiction, Southern popular films. When I say South, I refer to Tamil Nadu, Karnataka, Kerala, and Andhra Pradesh, all of the four. There is understanding, a lot of understanding. I've been reviewing a few autobiographies of hijras who have done well in life. Most of them have co-writers or translators, but a very one particular autobiography is supposed to come out very recently. I think it is called Blushes. Blushes. So the blushes, I have reviewed Blushes. It is the story of someone called Renju. Now, this is interesting to understand that Renju's story is very different. You know, it's very, very different from many other stories that I have read. Renju actually was a village boy, quote unquote, runs away from home because there was no money, farmer family in Kerala, and he eventually lands up in a south in Kerala itself in the film industry as a makeup artist. There is a story in between, and then she calls her pronoun is she. She then emerges as this celebrated makeup artist. So very sought after makeup artist. Now, when we are documenting women's agency, when we are documenting, say, for instance, the agent, not just agency, what kind of income is being driven into the economy by women, all of these is undocumented because there is no census which will tell you that what is the population like, that who is doing how much. And this is a major problem, like agency popular fiction. And I'll also give you another example. In Bengal, you must have heard of Mahashweta Devi, who is this extremely popular writer. Most of her stories have been translated by Spivak, Gayatri Chakravorty Spivak. Now, Mahashweta Devi, very interestingly, is a very esoteric writer, but she enjoys tremendous popularity amongst the common masses as well. Now, Mahashweta Devi speaks about women who belong to such households where the work is completely shouldered on the woman, particularly the Dalit woman, the tribal woman, right? And sharing of labor is very uncommon. And also the kind of family structure we might have imagined while framing this title, it is not middle class. It is a very different kind of family structure where sharing of labor may be something, but then the woman is burdened with both, say, for example, collecting the wood or even going for sex work and coming back home and cooking. And so there are two forms of local liqueurs. One is tari, the other is mohua. And tari and mohua are extremely intoxicating, inebriating drinks. Most of these men who are married to these women, and you know that in these societies, marriage is not as sacrosanct as we think it consider it to be within the middle class or upper middle class framework. And here, exchange of money, so to speak, exchange of money, that is very less. You will work for someone and they will give you some chawal. Will work from somebody, they will give you from some wood. And it is like a bargaining kind of policy. So the woman is bringing into the home certain material which helps her run the house, right? And the man is under the intoxicated by tari or mohua most of the time, and that leads to tremendous domestic violence. Tremendous domestic violence. And also, there is another aspect to this idea of the working woman. I mean, every single Dalit woman, tribal woman, they're all working women. Now, in most of these tribal areas, there has been a lot of critics in fiction, particularly Mahashweta Devi's fiction in Gautam Ghosh's films in Bengal, I'm talking about, where Monoranjan Bapari's novels, where you will see some photographer or some anthropologist or some photojournalist arriving from town with knowledge in English, and then they will capture these women. They would become their muse or their models, whatever, but no money is usually paid, you know, no money is usually paid because these women do not know that what a photograph quite could mean, because these photographers go back and they win very prestigious awards. So women became becoming the, when we talk about agency, women becoming the gaze of mostly male, quote unquote, male photographers or photojournalists or anthropologists. It's problematic thing because when then you can also ask, then why is Mahashata Devi not problematic? Mahashata Devi is not problematic because Mahashata Devi worked very closely with this community. She didn't go there as an anthropologist. She went there as a social worker. So she was very much there. And there is a lot of work, labor intensive. A particular day is very, very labor intensive. But how much money? And who is going to document that? You will sometimes find these reports which come out uh, all of a sudden in EPW or somewhere that so a tribal woman would, for example, earn so much for 1 hour. So it's very, very less. And uh, and also here another problem is there is no wage based on hours, right? And of course there is no union, but now there is an awareness, but even that doesn't help because when you travel to the remotest of villages, you will see that the Savarna population is so strong, and it is still very difficult for these women to speak for themselves, rise above themselves, and ask for the right amount of money. Now, if you remember Premchand's story, Sadgati, it was a very popular story, Sadgati, which was made into a film by Satyajit Ray. This man, Dalit man, dies while, chopping um, a bark of a tree, a very old tree with an axe, and it was impossible to break it. But the Savarna, uh, what is it called? Savarna head of the village, he wanted him to complete the work, but he couldn't, and he died of thirst. His wife, which is played by Smita Patil, that she protests that where is the money? You have to give me the money because my husband died. But there was no money given to the woman. Not only that, if you also remember Ketan Mehta's film Mirch Masala, which is about women working in the factory where mirchi, like red chili powder, is prepared. There also you will see the Tekadars and the Savarna owners and everybody, how they exploit women. And interestingly, it is also about motherhood and working outside just to run the household or to feed the child. Because there is a very important sequence in this very popular film um, where I would say that this child is very impatient to be with the mother, but because the mother is sort of making chili powder, the child could not be with her, right? So when you talk about agency, so my choice of becoming a mother is also my agency. My choice not to become a mother is also my agency. But when I'm a mother and kind of working in a factory, that is not my what you call child care leave nowadays within say for instance any corporate or even in government services in formal sectors, you don't get that, right? And Mirch Masala actually portrayed that in a wonderful way without commenting on it. Now if you ask me that what is the status of popular fiction right now, I believe there is a problem. I'll stop with this point. I think there is one problem because I believe most of our popular fiction films, those were produced during the 70s, more during the 70s and the 60s. The reason being, we had more of a socialist ideology. People followed more of a socialist ideology where there was a lot of um, concern, a lot of concern about wages, of the trade union movement, of women solidifying against very exploitative factory owners. And I remember that novel, what is it called? Rukmini's novel. I can't recall the name of the novel right now. It is about this village where the playground is taken over by a factory, and people become aware of a wage, that if I work, I'll be paid a certain wage. So when they're going to the factory, so there is a time, so there will be a siren and they will go. And the problem was, oh, Nectar in a Sieve. The name of the novel is Nectar in a Sieve. Nectar in a Sieve, because the factory, through urbanization, is enticing women into work. That you come out of your house, come to the factory, you work. But nectar in a sieve, the nectar is actually flowing out of the sieve because you are not being able to save anything. And on top of that, while you are just a agrarian, part of an agrarian economy, now you have become part of this very capitalist economic system. You have to manage both home and the factory, and there is no compensation for that. So popular fiction in the 60s and the 70s, they have been much more vocal. I would suggest, and not think that is the reason, because of a very socialist mentality, socialist ideology, where people were still sort of dreaming of a communist state. And this was all over. This is Nehruvian socialism, basically, not like the Communist Party socialism, but the Nehruvian socialism. And that's why more popular fiction at that time, where many women and their lack of agency has been reflected upon. Films have been very vocal. Novels in English have been very vocal. Local novels, though, man, at another level, they have done that work. Anyway, so we can go on and on with this topic. It's so interesting, but I'll stop here.
Thank you so much, sir, for such an encouraging speech. And thank you so much for focusing on the queer perspective. Thank you. So, now we shall move on to our next speaker, Dr. Noveena Chakravorty, ma'am. I will request you, ma'am, to share your insights. Thank you.
Okay. Hello to everyone. A wonderful meet, though it is virtually, but I really it was wonderfully spoke well, and both are in a different perspective. But my would be again the agency, and mine would be in a different other part of, like, fiction. Here, I would love to share about with you commercial aspect of the films and fiction and what exactly happening. So I will divide into three terminologies. Like, one is domesticity to professional ambition. Then I will just to put it somewhere in stereotypes and complexity, and the woman's representation as object to subject. So the variation of, so definitely novels are there, fictions are there. My perspective will be in from the film that I will pick. But what happened the first time, that domesticity to professional ambition. When I was growing up, watching all sort of Salim Javed movie and different kind of other angry young men series, I always seen people as mother is swing machine. She's traumatized. She's working household work. you know, Traditionally, women's work was confined to domestic sphere, and characters were often defined the role of wife, mother, homemaker. It was surrounded. So constantly like that. The personal fulfillment and the narrative resolution was almost somewhere it tied and finding the suitable for husband, suitable for son, suitable for any happy family. That's a homemaker, but homemaker with all distress. They are suffering, they are somehow supporting, but revolving around them. Same if you talk about the heroines or any kind of women, then too, according to the subject to the men and the protagonist who is a man. Fine. So always the understanding was something before marriage to support the family in any crisis. But in modern fiction, now I see, and not even that 70s, I was, even 70s there were, but in 80s, 90s, and 2000, that constantly, that those 3 decades, the commercial films were constantly that much regressive, but few of the fine dine to the wonderful movies, they're also projecting women in a different sphere. In modern fiction, we can also that working women on the central figure. Just no, I'm not going very far. Just the film called Tumhari Sulu, or maybe the Double Cartel. Recently, though the ladies are not doing the very apt and positive in their own right, but they are empowered. The recently I watched a film called Aap Jaisa Koi. A lady, she is actually delivering her desires, putting her desire, and instead of she's in an app, same app when women, when where men are also getting that app for their desire. And there is another narrative. A man can ask his or her his desire at a point of time. If woman is asked for that, it is tabooed, or a character assassination for that. So now the modern women, or the modern working women, they're defined as a sterile characters. Her career often take a primary resource to the identity, helping the family, professional ambition, and it is just the working pastime. She's striving with all promotion. The film called Corporate, even if you look about the film in the prostitution also, to Chameli, to another wonderful films, they are actually putting a very strong agency irrespective of the profession. It does not mean she is working in a right path. And what is the definition of right path? But she's strong, she is getting that identification. Another thing that in fiction, a typical stereotype, whenever we are calling as a woman, we can only identify them as a mother, as a sister, as a wife, or someone's friend, but no one even looking at particular why I'm doing it, saying it. We have a lot of empathy towards housewife, we have a lot of empathy towards anyone, but there are many other single people, those who are real women, they are women but not surrounded by the men, but they have also a very strong agency, because firstly no one is empathizing with them, and another part, no one is making them or feeling them at par with the men. So there's a different kind of understanding, and in society we kind of go with a kind of a duality, like ambiguous things are there. So in past working fiction, it was very stereotyped. They are working as a with a shoeing machine, or they are trying to okay, they are surviving in a very distressed position. But nowadays professionality, what we are looking at in fiction, they are gangsters, showing what a fiction is showing. They are into the business of to any kind of intoxication, but they are into business. It was earlier, it was a men's job, but even we are showing it as a women's job. Another part is that, for even if you take the 70s to 90s to 80s, women, either they are heroines or they are vamp, the called sentence called vamp, or they are maybe into a dancing. Earlier it was cabaret, then it is item number. That's the only focus. That's objectivity in any fiction, and especially in film. But right now, or early, but I will also say that earlier also, Mother India was also one of the part. But right now, the agencies are very strong. We are putting them as a subject. With the name of the women, the name of the when any woman or a female character is a central character of the film. Let it be in let it be a very old fiction, that is Gangubai is also putting that. So names are there, film names are becoming the women's voice, women name, their profession, irrespective of the profession. Now women is not limited, the fiction is not limited to a housewife or a mother or a widow mother. The very stereotypical was a widow mother. you know Widow mother is looking back as like a, she needs a support. But right now things are really changing. The objectivity, their own perspective, desire, subjects, there are there. And especially when I talk about when Kaustav sir was telling about the queer and the film agency, I known one of the wonderful director, Rituparno Ghosh. I always felt that he knew women more than any part of women, where women are unapologetically, putting her their desire, their work, their understanding, their perspective, and we are putting it out. The agency is really time to time. We will always say there's a this side and that side. Everywhere, somewhere putting as a very weaker section, and somewhere is a super, but nowhere we are calling women as just equal and normal to any men. And that's why, still women or women agency or this type of no and non-binary things are still in the topic, not men as a topic. Because we are either this side or that side, not within them. So that what I feel. So we can, our next guest is also there, so we can also give some time. So that's what I feel about it.
Okay, thank you so much, ma'am, for expressing your views. Now we have Dr. Debahuti Panigrahi ma'am with us. So I would like her to express her insights. Ma'am, over to you now.
Yeah, thank you, Sanjhbati. Greetings to everyone and a very good evening to the esteemed panelists. I will be discussing labor, liberation, and literature, the social agency. Am I audible? Yeah,
Yes, ma'am, you
social
are all.
agencies of working women in Indian fiction. Okay, so let us first understand what is agency in sociology. I am a sociology teacher, so in sociology we have this term agency. Like it is a independent individual who can shape or bring about changes in the social environment. Okay, so here we are thinking of how working women are going to be agency to bring about changes, right? So actually we are talking about gender discrimination and gender sensitization, isn't it? So let us talk about it. Gender inequality is a fairer term compared to gender discrimination. Gender discrimination is like all the disparities we are having with the as a women and as a man. There is a lot of discrimination between these two species in the society. Every society, not only in Indian society, in each and every society, you will find there will be gender discrimination. But yeah, European civilization and to tell you the truth, the Western civilization, they have fought these women. They have fought and they have come to a kind of solution to increment their status, their opinion, their findings, everything. They have created a status. Not even equal, but they have created a far more better status in their society compared to we Indian women. Okay, so uh, like you must have seen in religion also, we have yoni puja, yoni worship in matriarchal society, which is not there in this type of society, which is patriarchal society. We are now right now we are living in patriarchal society where this same structure is being changed into Sivalinga worship. Okay, same thing. You can see the same structure, but right now it is not, Yoni Puja is a no kind of thing. It's a taboo because it is totally, different from the perspectives of male society. You cannot worship a woman, right? To whom you are subjugating, to whom you are suppressing, you cannot just, worship her. It is the basic modality of the point, right? So this way, religion also doesn't support our women empowerment, but popular fictions, of course, they do uh, reflect whatever is going in the society, right? Like agency is going to individual choice, it is about free will, whereas social structure is going to totally control your willpower and your whatever your perspectives are there. So women in our society particularly are going to are controlled by the structure, social structure. This is this way it functions. Like one is social structure, the other is agency. So agency is trying to create changes in the structure. But in right now in this stage, we can say there is not much change. Of course, we are struggling, but there is not much change. Even if working women, we are struggling, isn't it? We are struggling for the right and equal status with the men, isn't it? We are still struggling. Even struggle has it has gone up, I can say. um, I'll talk about Kamla Das, especially a poet. She's a feminist, and she's kind of against patriarchal society. She has started writing poetries with confessional standards. Like she confessed everything about her life, whatever wrong goes against her, and whatever way she has made her status, social status, go up, and see how she got empowered. While going through the hardship itself, in all her poetries, it shows regarding that only women suffering, and how she has, struggling with the social structure, struggling with the social norms, struggling with the society, how to justify her desire, her entire, status, her entire persistence. Or the persistence was like how to, reflect whatever is in her just as it is, while society doesn't accept it. Whatever is in you as a desired format, or as a opinion, or as a belief system, society is not accepting you because you are a woman still. Yeah. So but she fought, and she's a very, she's like a very people don't think she's a good woman. Yeah. The woman who is a revolutionary is a branded as a feminist. That is again a term I have in my own life, professional life. I have encountered men whenever we are talking about something, something disagreeable related to men and our relationship with men as husband, or as brother, or as father. They will be telling, "Oh, she's a feminist." See, they will smile because they are very, they are our colleagues, and they are, like our friends. So they are not going to oppose us. They just smile and they will tell, "Yeah, she's a feminist." Means it is a brand that you are not in sync with the society and social norms and social, you know, customs, social, whatever way the society is functioning, you are not at par with the system. So this way, feminist is a, not a good thing in our society again. So you cannot just, voice your sufferings, voice your opinion. You cannot just talk like this. This is again a, whatever we are doing here. This is a feminist, stream. We are creating consciousness, and we are against the patriarchal society. It is like that. It cannot be. Always it can't be like we are, against the main society or patriarchal society. We are just, talking of us. We are talking of our ooze. We are talking of how to go about it. We are not talking against anyone. We are talking how to empower ourselves. We are talking of happiness. We are talking of joy. How to be in, how not to be controlled by others. Why to be controlled? If you are my husband or my consort, why you are going to control me? And who gave you the right? Why can't we be friends? Why you are going to go about ordering me all the time? It's not the way you are, nowadays each and every women are conscious in the marriage itself. May it be a, you go to a slum dweller's place and you come back to our high society or middle class society, you will find out that women are now conscious. They are not going to, they are not taking as such the sufferings or the beatings or the offendings. Like you are nobody. You shut up. You don't know anything. The way they are talking to you, the way they are treating you, the way they are so people are conscious. This is called gender sensitization, and we are entering into a new era where
Excuse me, ma'am. Okay. Um, I think she's facing some serious network issues. Um,
Sorry for the interruption. Uh, yeah, I was talking about. Am I audible, people? Can you hear my
yes,
voice? Yes.
yes, ma'am. You are
Yeah.
now audible.
Okay. So I was talking about fasting and feasting. How people, see, we have to talk against men. I'm sorry, a male person is here, but this is the truth. Like in every kind of occasion, we are going to fast and they are going to feast. We are even while a woman is doing fasting, she is going to prepare cook. She is going to cook. She is going to dress up like Karwa Chauth and all. And I even do those things. So it's like we are fasting and they are feasting. Okay, so Arundhati Roy is the god of small things. That itself is talking about how women struggle to escape the traditional values and the patriarchy and colonial power. Maheshwata Devi, she also is talking of how women's body is being controlled by the patriarchal system. She is not going to take any kind of decision regarding her body, like how I am going to dress up and whether I am going to conceive or not. Those things are, predetermined by the society, right? So, like Mulkraj Anand, in his work, like Untouchable, he has discussed how, as a untouchable woman, she has suffered double jeopardy. Like, she is a woman, that's why she is blocked from the society, and she is a achut or a untouchable, that's why she is also blocked from the society to take care of the privileges and the resources. She is not going to, be in the focus. She is totally marginalized because she is a untouchable. Okay. So, likewise, I will again suggest one more fiction called Jagyasani. She Pratibha Rai, she has written this particular form, like how Draupadi is misunderstood in our spiritual context and scriptural context, how she is misunderstood. And in each and every format, she was to be blamed because the Mahabharata Yuddha was, it was there, it commenced because of her. The Mahabharata ends like that. That Draupadi is the, one of the, the reasons behind the Mahabharata war. But it is not like that. If she is a very, this kind of degraded woman, then how come she is a kind of light format? She is energy. She is not a human being kind of thing. She has taken human form. She has come out of the fire itself, from the sacrifice pot. The fire sacrifice pot, she has come out. So how come she is a wretched person? So how come the war commenced because of her? It is not like that. Not like that. Nothing. So women are in each and every scripture, religious scripture. You can see each and every scripture. You will find women are to be blamed. Sita, goddess Sita, she has, why Ravan has taken her, because abducted her, because she didn't listen or she didn't follow the command of Lakshman. She crossed the Lakshman Rekha and she ordered Ram that he should chase and find out that golden deer. This kind of things are there in the scripture. So you, whenever you are going to, you are sinking and you are drowning and you want to come up, and anywhere I can find a help, nowhere you can't find a help. You are on your own as a woman. And government is doing a lot of empowerment tricks, but society itself is still. I will conclude my this this talk about like government is trying, yeah. People are also talking about women empowerment, and whatever is happening, it's very slow and it's not syncing with the social system itself. Suppose a woman is educated and is working, okay, okay, fine, but it doesn't say she is not being tortured, she is not agonized, she is not suffering, she is not going through gender discrimination, yeah. So what is happening in when we are connecting these two things, that women suffering or women as an agency to create structural changes in the society, fictions are only reflecting those things, whatever is happening in the society. Fictions are not, you know, going to show a light to the women folk that this way you come, nothing like that. Whatever is happening, they are just got these literature fictions, they are broadcasting whatever or reflecting whatever is happening in the society. But as Chaudhary perhaps, yeah, she has spoken regarding cinema. Yeah, cinema is kind of showing, yeah, whatever is, you know, like kind of smartness, kind of revolutionary attitude we are picking up from the media. So this is it. I conclude my statement with this, that let us spread this gender consciousness and gender sensitization. Thank you very much.
Sanjhbati, can I say something?
Yes, sir, of
Hello,
course.
Sanjhbati,
Yes,
I
sir.
have to say something. I was listening to Debahuti Panigrahi, ma'am. I'm sorry to say, ma'am, you are also conditioned by patriarchy, because you said there is a male person in this panel without asking me whether I identify as a man. And the point is, this shows that feminism is now extremely, the way you are talking is the second wave of feminism, which belongs to the 70s. But current feminism, current radical feminism, talks about non binaries. And it has nothing to do with your appearance. So this is not feminism, and this is not about women, because you did not hear my talk. My question was, who is a woman? What is a woman? Isn't a trans woman a woman? Isn't a AFAB person who has transitioned into a man, what does that person face? And how do you assume that a male, quote unquote, looking person also identifies as man? So this is interpolation in heteropatriarchy, and this could be dangerous for feminism. I'm sorry to say this, but this is my area where I do a lot of activism, and I hear this kind of talk, and sometimes I feel that we have gone or regressed like 50 years. So I believe that from next time onwards, you will be a little more conscious and cautious, and also update what you have learned about feminism so far. This is not feminism anymore. We call it queer feminism. And queer feminism is something totally different.
I am not talking about feminism itself. I am talking
No, no,
of this
you
agency.
assume, no, no, you assume that I'm a male person. How did you assume that I'm a male person? You
I
can't
did say
assume
that.
I'm a male person. No,
No,
you
no,
said
no, ma'am.
that.
I did say that.
Male
No, I
person,
did say
no,
that.
no, you
There
said
is a
that there is a
male
male
person.
person on the panel. How are you even assuming that? Because you are putting me within a gender binary, which I do not accept.
I'm not
And
talking of you.
feminism is not
Sorry to say
binaristic.
this.
No,
I'm
feminism
not
is
talking. I
non-binaristic.
was not
Your
talking of
entire
you.
talk
No.
is binaristic. Your
No,
entire
no, no.
talk is binaristic,
I
and
am a
it,
professor of sociology. I understand what is feminism and what is, you know, agency and what you are talking about, what we are talking of this. And I'm not talking of you. All right? I'm not talking of you. You are accusing me like anything. This is not the way I'm going to be treated. I'm not going to
look.
talk like this. I'm not going to be, no, no, I'm
No, no,
not
no.
going to be
What I'm
part of the
trying to say
discussion.
is
No,
that
this is offending. See, this is
there is
really
a
offending.
basic flaw. There is a
I'm
basic flaw in
sorry to be here.
assuming
I can't
that I
take
would
this. No,
identify as a man. I would not identify as a cisgendered man. I
no,
may
no, you
not
are. I'm not.
identify as a cisgendered man. You are
I'm not going
talking
to
about
tolerate all
Karwa
this.
Chauth.
No,
You are talking about,
scientific what is going
right?
on? What is
So,
going on? What
no,
is
no,
going
no.
on?
I
I
will
haven't
not
talked so far.
accept.
I
I will
haven't talked.
not accept any feminist. Any no, no. You. I will not accept any feminist discussion which does not include the queer or talks in binary terms. It is totally binary. You are talking about Karwa Chauth. You are talking about division of labor, which is like 50 years old. People are doing these things nowadays. Fine, I don't know, but at the same time, this is extremely disturbing, and I believe that this is very insulting to people, very insulting. This kind of feminism has seen its death many, many years ago. I do not know what sociology teaches, but this is exactly what my point is.
Okay, okay, sir. Okay, thank you for expressing your views. So I will also thank Dr. Debahuti Panigrahi ma'am, but she has left again. Anyway, now we will move on to the question and answer part of the session. My first question is for Dr. Hema Swaminathan ma'am. Ma'am, from your perspective, how do you see fictional narratives, whether in literature, film, or popular media, portraying the agency of working women? Do these portrayals often align with or diverge from the economic realities you study?
Thank you, Sanjhbati. Thanks for the question. Um, I would say both yes and no. It's kind of hard to give uh, a sort of a black and white answer, right? I think fiction, in some ways, is less complex and less messy. What is shown on fiction is less complex and less messy than what reality is. Fiction, like I said, often employment is glamorized, agency is about financial decision making or the ability to buy some things or the ability to voice a few things. Um, and it's not that straightforward. If you want to talk about financial independence, there's often a lot of negotiations that are involved. You can't go out, sort of earn money and then become your own master or mistress. Yes, certainly there are some freedoms that come, but the more complex factors often involved more people in the family, more people in the household. So I think some of it, yes, gets mirrored, but I think reality is more complex, more messy. There is a shift in, of course, household dynamics. And I think one of the earliest movies that kind of made an impression on me was Satyajit Ray's Mahanagar. Mahanagar, sort of 1960s, where Aruti sort of gets employment initially to sort of share the household burden because her husband's employment was not enough. But later on, she sort of starts enjoying that work, right? And there, I think Ray very nicely portrays some subtle shifts of, I think she starts eating dinner with her husband, whereas in those times, that wasn't the accepted norm, right? Women would eat last. Uh, they would not, and depending, I guess, where you are in that hierarchical status in the household, you would eat last. So it is maybe a mother-in-law got preference, but in general, you would eat after serving the men. So I think subtle shifts. So I think those kinds of shifts, yes, but I think I think reality also is that whenever there is a change in status quo and you're talking about agency and people are trying to rise, there is always a backlash. Very often, this backlash is not portrayed. Um, at least I'm now trying to think. Actually, your topic was quite interesting because I think I read more nonfiction than fictions. I had to really sort of go back and think about the movies I had seen to think of a depiction. So I think backlash is often not very seen. And maybe I'm wrong. I'd be happy to be enlightened by fellow panel members uh, if that is portrayed. But I think backlash, and this is true for I think not just women, but also anyone who's trying to rise above their position in society. They are meted out, like put in their place, right? Know your place in society. So these kinds of backlash effects are not well noted. And I think, again, fiction is more stark in the sense like this. There was this movie Pink that I saw a few years ago, I think, about this courtroom drama of sexual harassment. It was around consent, right? That a no means no and what happens. But it's so very urban, elite kind of, and the ability to take things to court. Whereas I think real life is much more about the microaggressions that one might see in the workplace. And it's not, it could be sexual jokes, sexual innuendos, not getting promoted, being passed over, or even things like consent within marriage, right? I think fiction doesn't deal with messiness so much. There is more, real life is harder, complex, more negotiation, and you kind of have to locate yourself in more structures.
Okay. Thank you so much, ma'am, for answering so beautifully. My next question is for Dr. Kaustav Bakshi, sir. Sir, how, according to you, fictional narratives explore the interplay between external constraints like the patriarchal structures, economic limitations, and the internal resolve or strategies of working women characters?
I don't think fiction resolves anything. It is impossible for them to resolve. They may just portray. And what I have seen in popular fiction, like whether it is film or novels or maybe even plays for that matter, plays are much more progressive, I would say. Like the ones that we watch in Kolkata or maybe Bombay, they're much more progressive than what you see in films. Um, I believe, like when you say patriarchy and how they're negotiating with it, I have always seen, like in contemporary cinema, as Professor Chakravorty was talking about, we do see a lot of women who are working and they seem to have an agency. They also are, in a way, independent. The power to purchase, basically, they have that. But I believe in popular fiction, popular cinema, popular fiction too, like the ones which are just picked up from the shelves in shopping malls. There, I believe women are allowed uh, a certain degree of freedom. Like you cannot cross a certain line. You will be accepted as long as you are within that line. And honestly speaking, radicalism was is never a part of Indian feminism as such. The way radical feminism, for instance, emerged in the US in the 1960s and 70s, we have not reached that stage as yet. And therefore, this whole idea of uprooting patriarchy, that has not entered our consciousness. And that is very evident in popular representations. You will see it in novels and other books, nonfiction, which are not meant for, say, for instance, an airport pickup. But if there is an airport pickup, if something like that, it will cater to only a certain degree of independence. They will never make you a radical uh, feminist. In fact, in India, as Professor Chakraborty is talking about, maybe we're referring to Chandni Bar, the film that Chandni Bar, which the film which actually created a lot of ripples across Bombay, portraying
Then Chameli
women's
was there, one of them.
Chameli after Chandni Bar Chameli, first
Chameli,
Chandni Bar,
yeah. Yes,
first
Chandni.
Chandni Bar. Yeah, Chandni Bar is a more realistic film in the sense that Chandni Bar was portraying sex workers as working women and the
You can also
rights
take
of
a
women.
reference of Mandi, sir. You can also take a reference of
Mandi,
Mandi.
yes, Mandi is
Yes,
wonderful, like
you can. Yeah,
Shambenegal's
that's why
Mandi.
I put you little there so that you can just
Yes, in the
chronologically check.
70s
Yeah,
again, in the 70s
yeah.
again.
Mandi was
And
even progressive in that way
much more progressive, and as I
than
said, na, it
any
was
of
because
them.
more of a, yeah, because it's more of a socialist sort of understanding of society where everybody was included, right? So Mandi is a very powerful film. It's a very powerful film. And sex workers in Chandni Bar, for example, because they are from South Bombay, basically the dancing bars, the dance that you have. It's about those girls. Many of them, very interestingly, are also background dancers in Bombay cinema. Many of them are background dancers, but they are never noticed in films, right? So Mandi was actually focusing on this prostitute household and who is coming in, where they're going. And it's a very complicated story, very, very complex story, very the relationships, how they are flowering. Chandni Bar actually takes place mostly in the workplace culture of the dancing bar. And the problem is again about wages, again about negotiations, again about, of course, the idea of the body, the woman's body, the site of violence, the site of pleasure, the site of everything. And, there is this very beautiful documentary by Shohini Ghosh, which is called Ratpuride Rupkatha, the fairy tale of the Night Queens. Actually, it is available as a documentary on YouTube now. Shohini Ghosh is from Jamia Millia University. So Shohini, uh, she did a fantastic job. Like she came to Calcutta in the Shonagachi area, which is the prostitutes' red light area here. And she started, and this documentary was completely focused on how HIV was being transmitted through unprotected sex. Right. So the women who were the lead, the faces of the households of these prostitutes' quarters, at that time they were being sensitized by NGOs regarding how to control the transmission of the virus. And it was through condom. There was not too many medicines at that time. So now too it's different, but back then, 20 years ago, 25 years ago, it was very different. And while they were shooting the film, uh, they constantly noticed that this trans Koti figure was constantly coming into the frame, constantly coming into the frame. And Shohini later told me that this person was not a part of the script, but they became a part of the script because whenever I checked the frames back home, I could see that person standing in the background or within the frame. Now, why am I referring to this? Because I think this is one of the very first documentaries which also talks about the presence of trans women and Koti men in Shonagachi, as sex workers. Interestingly, they seem to have agency. Why? Because men need them. And also, please remember, we sometimes sentimentalize about sex workers, but there are many sex workers who voluntarily join. They come voluntarily into this. Now it's even more rampant, like escorts and more high class escorts. It's very, very rampant. But many of them have come voluntarily. It's not that many of them were forced into it. But anyway, they seem to have agency because when the women's body is desirable and it is on display, it is nothing more than going to a shopping mall and I have the purchasing power, so I can buy this body. And this woman can deny. The woman can say no, but in most cases in Shonagachi that doesn't happen because poverty is very huge, but maybe not so much, say, for instance, in Bombay. Bombay, because of more migrant workers. But in Kolkata, there are lesser migrant workers. Um, so agency comes through financial independence. And there are many sex workers' houses in Shonagachi. You will be fascinated to know that they are extremely well furnished, well maintained, very decent households. And actually, when we talk about sex work and agency in films, what we don't C, in most cases, either it is too much of romanticizing, or there is always a bypassing of reality. Otherwise, as Professor Swaminathan said, that nobody is going to watch those films, right? In case of Hiramandi, for example, what you see is absolutely an exaggerated version of what the reality was like. But Jeta in Bengali we call something stridhan as stridhan, that the possession of a woman. Here is the jewels and the dresses and the lehengas and the cholis that they wear. There is a very interesting film by Aparna Sen, Goinar Baksho, and it is how the jewelry box is passed down from one generation to the other, and how it makes Konkona Sen Sharma independent and becomes an entrepreneur. Right, and it is passed down by his widowed Pishima, who lost her husband when she was only 8 years old. And here, the agency comes from the goina, which is actually nothing but the jewelry which is given by her father. Right, but this is Tridhon, which women actually had control over nowadays as well. One of the reasons why gold was exchanged during marriage was perhaps to send the woman off to her in laws with a sort of financial support in the time of need. And in Goinar Baksho, the emergence of an entrepreneur and then funding the Bangladeshi war from that one box of jewels which this very old Pishima had. It's a comic novel, a comic film. But again, when we say working women, we think of women who earn wages at the end of the day, but we do not talk about the jewels they possess, many of them. And it could be stand by them in the time of need. It can, and many women have actually saved many families by selling off their jewels. And it's very common. It's very, very common. Like buying a piece of land, buying a flat, marrying off the daughter. What hasn't women done? Look at any fiction, whether popular or, whether textual or filmic. You will come across many of these women. They are not earning women, but from the things they have possessed, something like a family heirloom, something which has been inherited. So inheritance sometimes works, and that is also another way of looking at it, which films have done many, many times. I would like to stop here.
Thank you so much, sir, for answering so beautifully. And now we shall move on to Dr. Noveena Chakravorty, ma'am. Ma'am, in your views, what are the most significant shifts in portrayal of professional and personal lives of working women compared to the traditional narratives in modern fictions?
Well, I will talk about more of fiction because, at a point of time, no, we hardly, when we look at non-fiction, we really somehow, really pain is really hard. But when we look at the fiction, we still feel there's some positivity, maybe, may not be. But, if you look at the profession, I earlier told you that, earlier the profession was really maybe maximum to household to office. Now the variety, the things are really, really changed. First time I looked about the different kind of profession when Meera Nair's Salam Bombay is a wonderful film where you can really feel that different professions. Just now I was just reading some chat box, one of the person who discussed about Chopal Bhaduri. So I think there's another film called Arekti Premer Golpo where there's a profession called um, a a body with a man but feeling as a woman. Again is a story that we can define. So we need to understand the sexuality and the gender first. These are both the things are different, and we need to identify them in a very different way. And what was his profession, that he speaks like a female tone, the his no why I'm putting his, because again his physicality, fine. So how he was keep behaving. And there was a profession, there is a profession called jatra, in Bengali, there's a theater form Jatra, is that, Jatra where no people work, and earlier women were not allowed to play anything in Jatra. So, then men they used to play as a women, but there are many trans people, they possess their feeling as a women, they also even put their livelihood. So there are many other profession too,
They were
plus
called
we
Beneputuls. They were called
uh,
Beneputul. Beneputul,
okay.
Beneputul bolto. Ha.
Okay. So I have
Beneputul. So
seen,
a
actually,
puppet
I'm a
that you can be
person.
traded. A puppet which can be traded.
Okay. So I think that, professions, I will also say that, it does not mean earlier what happened. Earlier, there are many progressive cinemas also there. If you put the things in Rangila, where a lady want to live her life the way she wanted to, irrespective of the judgment of the society. There was film and there were commercial films as well. The profession, I also lightly, carve that, professions are not only corporate. There's a cinema called corporate, where we look at the life of corporate, corporate life of any women, so I can see a lot of change, the variety of women work, women as an entrepreneur, women as working women, even there are many OTT and other way, women as a lawyer, women as doctors, women as what, women as a, as playing as escort, I was, there's a remake of a cinema called uh, where recently did that, ki a lady, she's an escort played by I don't know, I forget the name. There are initially it made another film, Bengali film, and a new film. Women are specifically by choice they're escorts. Women, they are actually into the business of narcotics. In fiction, I see variety, and I damn sure that films are the reflection of society in some kind of our own carving, and cinemas also, and people are also imbibing from cinema as well. It's a vice versa is vis-a-vis happening. So I can see no portrayal of, now it is not limitation of any lady who is swing and putting the silai machine and no ki, feeding their little family and she's a widow. Things are really changed. Things are, people are independent. People, even there are many other people are putting their desire according to their desire, their understanding, they're taking their job. And recently I watched of no ki OTT that, Dabba Cartel. One is, the different kind of marriage, made in heaven. People are actually looking at a lot of variety of marriages, and that is also a business. you know and people are coming in the sports. So the things are really in fiction. We are putting a lot of sports to narcotics to a lot of intoxication to maybe sexual work to corporate work to lawyer to doctors. I can see the variety. I don't know when I will see a teacher is working and there's a story of a teacher. I think that we should also come up with this kind of, but yeah, reality is really painful at a point of thing. Non-fiction is something we show the reality, but fiction we somehow urge for a little happiness at the end of the time. So maybe. So nothing much, it's very subjective. It is a never ending thing, and it cannot be a debate even. It's a process, and we need to really understand the gender and sexuality both are different, and the subsequently their profession is also different. And what we are, and now is all a vice versa. What's the audience demand, and what the creator are showing, and what is the audience demand. Now the item songs are, even they are pro women item song. If you talk about the uante, there's an item number, but it's a pro women item number. So things are changed, narrative are changing, but again there is a circle. It's a vicious circle. It comes and goes, it comes and goes, that like that. I hear at the end because it's a I can talk on, but I know the constraint of time. So just I looked at some of the chats, and that's why I just take that Arekti Premier Golpo. Even the wonderful film called Nagar Kirtan. There's also a different profession, and I would suggest everyone to watch that by Kaushik Ganguly.
Thank you so much, ma'am, for expressing your views and your insights. So we're already running short of time, actually. Anyway,
We understand. That's why I'm concluding it very fast.
it's absolutely all right, ma'am. With that, we come to an end to tonight's discussion. I will thank each one of the esteemed panelists for sharing their knowledge and invaluable insights with us. Thank you so much, all of you. And I'm sure that our audience is enriched with thought provoking ideas from the discussion. We are grateful to you all for taking out time from your busy schedules and for being a part of this discussion. It will prove to be a significant stepping stone in our efforts to build a discourse around this subject. And it was an absolute pleasure to have been in your company this evening, ma'am. This is to remind again that we are calling for submissions on working women in literature, and the details of which can be viewed on www.tellmeyourstory.biz. So, good night, everyone. Thank you so
Thank
much.
you. Thank you. Good night, everyone.
Thank you.
Good
Thank
night.
you. Thank you so much, Sanjhbati, and thank you to Kaustav and Noveena. Thank you.
Thank
Good
you. Thank
night.
you, ma'am. Take care. Good
Good
night.
night.
Yeah,
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah.
Sanjhbati, are you going to take Kaustav's suggestion and change the title so that it's less non-binary
Ma'am, can you please
in
just
terms of
repeat?
your submissions that you're
I,
requesting?
no, no, ma'am. It's